Hello, everyone. I'm Liz Charlene Tate from the Strong Start Western Professional Development Center, and welcome to Season 2's finale of the Itsy Bitsy Zoomcast project. We have lovingly titled this season the ABCs and HCCs of Early Childhood Education. We're using the letters HCC in the title of every episode to celebrate the 75th anniversary of Holyoke Community College. Today's episode takes a closer look at the impact of Holyoke Community College on the early education and care field and the bond between EEC and community colleges. Today's HCCs are the history of committed champions.
So as we reflect on the past, present, and future roles of HCC in this field, we're grateful to have two special guests, Holyoke Community College President Christina Royal and the Massachusetts Commissioner of Early Education and Care, Samantha Eigner-Trewergy. Also with us today, we have Kim Quinlan, who is our Early Childhood Grant Initiatives Director, and she really is the liaison in the partnership between the Ed Department and our grant staff and our professional development side. So we thought it'd be great to have the three of them here together to have this conversation. Kim Quinlan needs no introduction. She is a regular on this Itsy Bitsy Zoomcast. So Kim, thanks for coming back. And President Royal, can you tell our viewers a bit about yourself and your role?
Great. Thank you, Sheila and Liz, and happy to be here. I'm so happy to see our students as well. I've been president of Holyoke Community College for a little over 4 years. HCC turned 75 this year as the oldest two-year college in the state of Massachusetts. I am the fourth president of HCC and the first biracial and queer woman to lead this institution. I share this because I think it's so important for young folks to see themselves represented in leadership roles in our community. So I've been committed to speaking about my various identities in a public way because that representation matters. And it matters especially in the younger years when children begin to shape their expectations of themselves and what's possible for their lives.
I'm so glad you shared that about yourself, and representation is something that we talk about a lot in our role as early educators and bringing that into our classroom. So I'm thrilled that you took the time to share that with us. Commissioner Eigner-Trewergy, thank you for being back at the Itsy Bitsy Zoomcast. Can you tell our viewers a bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you, and thank you so much for having me and for sharing this time with all of the community, and to President Royal for all of your work to really not only in representation but also in the support of the community college system in Holyoke. I think it's been a remarkable partnership I've been able to witness and be part of as well. I have been here since August of 2019 in this role, and I think in a different way am the fifth commissioner of the Department of Early Education and Care and the first educator who has taken this role. So my background is as a preschool teacher, and then I was social emotional consultant and did a lot in teacher coaching and support before realizing, I think, that I was witnessing a lot of the same struggles over and over again and felt the need to get into policy. So that's my background, and now see my role as pushing the bureaucracy forward on a daily basis on behalf of the children and families and educators and programs that we work with.
One thing I noticed that the two of you have in common is you're not afraid of a challenge, and that you approach things with a really positive mindset. So I appreciate that, and that resonates with me and how I work. So I want to share with everyone that this Zoomcast is a partnership between HCC's Early Childhood Programs and the Western Mass Strong Start Professional Development Center. It serves as the service learning project for the students who are here with us, who are taking EDU 213, which is a 6-credit early childhood practicum. It's a very intense course load, and this project serves as their service learning project. So one of the things we've been talking about in seminar is the 75th anniversary of the college, and the students and I started to feel like, whoa, what is this historical reach that the early ed programs have had in this field? I know that our particular group of programs and majors is over 50 years old. So if you think about the amount of educators and families that may have been touched by folks who were trained at HCC, it's a bit existential. So we've been talking about that, and we thought this would be a great opportunity to talk to the president and the commissioner about what they see as the past, present, and future roles of HCC within the early ed community. So the students designed some questions. So I'm going to turn it over to my student Riley McLaughlin, and she's going to get us started.
Hi, I'm Riley. So the title of this episode is A History of Committed Champions. Community colleges have historically played an integral role in the early childhood profession. Can you share what you think makes community college a place that cultivates early childhood champions? President Royal, could you please answer first, addressing HCC's reach with a long history of strong early childhood programs?
I love this question, Riley, and I will do my best to keep my response short, but HCC is a key partner in the work of early education for a couple of reasons. The first is our faculty who teach early childhood education and the staff who support these programs. Our curriculum is designed to support a variety of fields in early childhood education, as well as transfer to four-year institutions, and prepare students for eligibility for teacher certification through the Mass Department of Early Education and Care. And our faculty and staff are recognized leaders across the state and the region for their knowledge in early childhood education. And they utilize that expertise to keep the curriculum current. An example of this work is HCC is the lead partner on a $2 million Career Pathways grant in partnership with Berkshire Community College and Greenfield Community College to prepare students to earn their Childhood Development Associate credentials. The connection of community colleges to early education is really, really important. We can look at the data from early education and know who is likely to go to college. And this highlights two important points for me. First, what happens in life and in school between early childhood and early adulthood will shape the future of our regions and communities in terms of the level of educated citizens. And since there are correlations that intersect between childhood experiences and other social determinants of health, such as education and health and employment, then investing in early childhood education can be seen as an investment in our communities. This leads me to my second point, which is one of the most transformative opportunities for early childhood education, in my view, is creating a college-going culture in those early years of education. There are many children who have parents that have not attended college. When these children come to college, we call them first-generation college students. I was a first-generation college student, and college was foreign to me because I didn't have adults in my life that could prepare me for those experiences and help me best leverage what college was all about. Why is this important? Because education from pre-K through college is one of the most powerful ways to improve the social and economic mobility of families. So I truly believe that the connection between early education and college is really critical. And I'm very proud that HCC plays a prominent role in that work, along with the commissioner and others across the state.
Thank you for that amazing response. Commissioner Sam, can you elaborate on that and how you see community colleges as an integral part of the workforce?
Absolutely. And I love what President Royal said, I think, because not only does it focus on what I will say as a child development person is that the critical investment we're making in those first years of life and the path it sets children on, but also that you reflected that it is about the adults around those children that are setting that tone and how we set a culture for those children that fosters that joy of learning, that the understanding of their own potential as limitless. And I think how we set that and how the adults around children set that is where the research shows is the way to really transform children's lives. And so I think that the role that community colleges play in helping our workforce. And so for Department of Early Education and Care, we license, well, prior to COVID, 8,000 programs across the state that require staff, they require teachers to be there and be present and be those adults that are caring for those children and setting that culture. And what we know about that preparation is that it is both about the knowledge that you gain, but also the experience. Also, it is wonderful to know everything about how to intervene on a fight with a 3 and 4 year olds. It is a very different experience to try to implement that when there is actually an argument going on between a 3 and a 4 year old. And how do you do that in a way that fosters all of those things that we know are impactful? It takes not only the knowledge of the power of your words and the response, but also that practice and that experience. And I think the type of programming, and I think the way you talk about HCC's program, the practicum that the students are going through, embodies really what it takes to make sure that workforce has both of those experience and knowledge to be able to be that transformative force for children.
Thank you both for recognizing how hard the students work at all community colleges. But for me personally, this is a group of students who chose to do a practicum in a pandemic. And last semester students really got through and they figured out we're in a pandemic, we're going to shift, and they pivoted. That was amazing. This group of students signed up, looked around, knew it was going to be hard, and they said, I'm going to do it anyway because I want to be an amazing teacher. And they did not shy away from this challenge. So I think that says a lot about the community college student. And I'm thrilled to work at a place where we not only have supportive faculty, but we have an incredible staff that supports students in all areas, especially our grant staff under Kim. So it's just such a strong partnership between academics and professional development. So my next student is
Sheila, can I interrupt for just one quick second?
Kim.
I just wanted to acknowledge, in connection with what President Royal said, we do have one of our very first CDA Plus cohort students in the audience here today. So.
Oh, I have to say that. Okay, so
congratulations.
We're going to point you out.
Thank you,
So
Kim.
Jessica Cardona is here. She was in our first CDA cohort and she rolled that into an associate's degree, and she is about to graduate with an associate's degree because she rolled through. So Jessica, she has overcome every barrier that can be thrown at a student, and she's here smiling, and she has a few things to say at the end of the episode. I'm so glad you reminded me, Kim. Poor Jessica, we point you out all the time, but you deserve it. All right, our next question, Ashley.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and I just want to thank both President Royal and the Commissioner for being here today before I start. The pandemic brought about a lot of change and uncertainty, but it also brought opportunities for support and growth. What is currently happening in your role now that you are proud of and passionate about related to how community colleges and the early education field collaborate?
I would love to talk about that, and I think that the team here is the faculty and the community college team here is really part of that collaboration, and it is thanks to the Professional Development Center, the faculty at HCC, that tight bond that we have, that we're able to really think through the opportunities that we have ahead of us. In full disclosure, having started just a mere 5-6 months before the pandemic, there was a lot I was learning when this hit, just about the Massachusetts landscape. And so it has been a landscape in transition with a lot of new investments, trying to respond to new research that has come out in the last decade and really implement the shifts in the system. And I think that what we've seen is a need for EEC to think differently about how we structure our work for educators, and really play a role in partnership with higher education to try to differentiate the expertise you gain over time, and to do that in a way that honors both the knowledge and the experience, as we've been saying, and that's really difficult. It's really difficult that no other state has done that. Of how do you build a framework that is applicable to so many different types of programs, types of families, types of communities across the Commonwealth, but still allows a teacher to go from Worcester to Boston to Pittsfield, and be treated with the same sort of respect and be validated for the expertise that they have gained over those years, and not have to start over every time. And I think we need to do that in partnership with those closest to those students, who in higher ed, who have been trying to really build the kind of competency-based approach to education that you're measuring, not just can you take a test, but how do you implement this when you're actually faced with real students? And I think that kind of partnership will actually fuel not only what we hope is a pipeline for people like Jessica can go from and go from where you started to where you are, and see what the next 10 years might hold in this profession for you, with growth and potential, but also so that we can hold the expectations for our programs that are hiring you, that the compensation is there and that you are actually going to get paid for the hard work you are doing. Our role of building structure around that, and to build from the expertise with the community colleges in particular, of having balanced this really nuanced lens, and codifying it in a way that our teachers who are entering in the field see the longevity for themselves, because we need you to stay, and we need you to gain that experience and help train the next level, the next generation. And I think that's the pipeline I see us building right now, and excited that we are finding new ways to do that through Zoom, through podcasts, through ways that we're sharing expertise and sharing and collaborating in much more robust ways than I think we ever imagined we would be.
I agree with that. As a faculty member, I've been able to really see how you've led your department to get ready for some important changes. And I'm looking to my left because I have two of the biggest whiteboards you've ever seen, and they are filled with how I'm going to take what I think the credentialing system will look like and make sure our curriculum is ready. You should see my ideas. But I wouldn't have that foresight to anticipate had we not had this very open collaboration from the start. So I appreciate you mentioning that. President Royal, your thoughts?
Well, that was a fabulous answer. And I think the Commissioner Sam really touched on a really critical point, which is partnership, that everyone has a lens through which they're looking at the greater sector of early childhood education. And I think getting those divergent and multicultural voices around the table to inform the perspective on the future of early education is going to be absolutely critical. When you look at the demographics of our nation and our communities in Massachusetts, it's going to be ever increasing in racial diversity and other types of diversity, gender, ability, linguistics, age, etc. There's all of these elements, and all of those things you have an opportunity to take the ways that our communities are changing in each of those areas, and to be able to look at then what does that mean for how we have to educate our really young folks earlier on. The convergence of the challenges that appear in front of us as a society is really a tremendous and very unique opportunity. And this is the only pandemic I've lived through to this degree. And the pandemic didn't create these issues. It brought it to the surface. And so what we do with this, to me, is really a reflection of our adaptability and resiliency as a people, as a nation, to figure out, are we going to take this and really work through these very difficult challenges? Food insecurity, housing insecurity, childcare, digital literacy, like all of these things have existed before the pandemic, but the pandemic has illuminated some of these challenges. And when you even think of early childhood education, look at how many people are on food assistance programs in the schools, right? So, looking at the lens of early childhood education through poverty and thinking about, what type of support structures and community has to occur in those early years to be able to foster children that can develop the self-confidence, empathy as individuals, and compassion for their peers, but also their own resiliency and mindset about their own capabilities and how they can make a difference in their futures and what they want to work towards in terms of building their own skill sets and strengths to be able to find their place in our community. And so I think it's a very exciting time. When students return to the HCC campus in the fall, as we resume some in-person classes and we also resume support services in person, my hope is that they're going to see a new and improved version of ourselves. We're still HCC, the same HCC that we've been for 75 years in this community, but to me, the opportunity is that we can grow from this pandemic and we can translate that into continuing to better support students and help cultivate the goals that they have for themselves. And, from the beginning of this pandemic, I've said, and Professor Gould and Liz and Kim have heard me say this in college-wide meetings, that I did not want HCC to just focus on weathering the storm. I wanted us to thrive in this time. And this Itsy Bitsy podcast is a perfect example of how, these early childhood educators have, leaned into the uncertainty of, their lives getting disrupted and their educational experiences getting disrupted. And all of you, in partnership with the students, have created this wonderful Zoomcast series that hopefully will continue to live on beyond the pandemic. And so to me, that is just one of many examples of how you've turned a very difficult situation into something that is positive and rewarding, and ways that students can continue to learn during these changing conditions.
There's something to be said for leadership that allows opportunity to experiment and create. And I think that that's what I've learned working with both of you in my different capacities as a faculty member, but as an early ed coordinator partnering with EEC, is that in both circumstances, I have always felt like leadership allows me to ask a question, even if it doesn't make sense, or try something and maybe it won't work, or maybe it'll be a little weird. But I work with Liz to model that for the students, that when you're working with young ones, try new things, see what they're interested in, build off of that. And that's an important part of leadership. And these students are leaders in the way that they've approached this project and the way that they're approaching becoming leaders in their classrooms. Ashley Marie got hired halfway through her practicum, and now she's a lead teacher in one of the classrooms. So just showing all this leadership that's building within these students, it does come from the top, but it makes a difference, having the opportunity to make and create. So we're getting close to the end. The students have one more question though, because we want to focus on the past and the present, but we want to think about the future. And President Royal started talking about the future a little bit. And will this Zoomcast continue? Spoiler alert, yes, it will.
Yes.
We have so our last question.
Oh, sorry. I was thought you were going to say my name. I'm like, oh, I'm the other Samantha. Hi.
Today. Go ahead, Samantha.
Great name. Great name.
Right? That's what I say too. My question for you guys is, as we look ahead to the future, we can't help but acknowledge and marvel at the advocacy and innovation that emerged so brightly in this pandemic. And you kind of answered this already a little bit, but what makes you most hopeful about the future of early ed programming locally and nationally?
Ooh, who wants to chew on that one first? You're both welcome to jump in.
I'm happy to jump in. What gives me hope about our future is all of you, is our students, and you are the future of this field. And I think in partnership with people like Commissioner Sam and our educators and our staff leaders to be able to bridge where we're at today with all of the creative and new ideas that you have for our future. Every generation as a cohort brings different ways of viewing the world and different priorities. And I think that that's where having your voices as early adapters moving into this field really contribute to this conversation. So you combine that with the long-term expertise that we have around the table and these fresh voices. To me, that's the perfect combination of co-creating the future. When I think about elements of the future that certainly will intersect early education programming, I think about the fact that while there's so many in-person experiences that are absolutely critical, forming those ability, the skills to be able to have a face-to-face conversation and interact with people and play nicely in the sandbox, metaphorically and literally. But there's also this emerging skill that we're still grappling with as a nation, and that is around digital literacy. Because I see kids who are in early education with smartphones these days, right? But just because they have that technology in their hands does not mean that they know how to use it and use it in appropriate context. And so those types of things, building that skill development around digital literacy and how to know how to use that, when technology is best, when it's best to sit down face to face and talk to somebody. These are the early signs of the same conversations that I have with employers these days about the things that they want to see in their new hires. And all of these skills really do relate to kindergarten and everything you learn early on. And so I think we have to think about the adaptation of our society and how we can integrate the necessity of these new skills so that we have students that aren't just really good at playing video games, but that they actually know how to use the technology for productive, appropriate purposes. So that's an example of something that I think this field is still grappling with, what that evolution looks like, but very much represents an example of what the future is.
The future is full of who knows? And I think that's always something we've known, but boy, this pandemic has really thrown that into our face, that you don't know what's coming, and just being ready to be flexible. Commissioner Sam, what makes you hopeful about the future for our field?
Well, I will start with the fact that President Royal stole my answer, that it is you all. But I think that it is true. And I think that it is that what is hopeful is the experience of the last year in doing two things, I will say specifically. And I think first is the collaboration that we've seen, this level of collaboration that through, as I said before, but new ways and creativity and bringing, seeing the fact that we've seen the early childhood, the early education and care field step up with and see this as an opportunity for themselves too, and find new ways to collaborate and find new ways to come together and be able to grapple with it. I think, Kim, we had said at one point at a meeting of, I'm always the person that was saying like, oh, I'll just drive over. Oh, I'll just be there in person. And and now you can't. And I think it's offered new opportunities to think differently and use technology differently. In that's sort of the adult to adult collaboration that I think we're really is an opportunity, and makes me so hopeful for the ways that we will work together on behalf of strengthening this field. But there's another thing that I want to highlight that is, I think, so hopeful, and that is the fact that as difficult as this time has been on everyone in every aspect of life and all of the social vulnerabilities that it has exposed in communities and for families, the joy that our professionals have been able to continue bringing to children's lives. And quite frankly, children respond to their environment. So they don't know that 6 feet apart is good or bad. They know that the game we're playing that keeps me 6 feet apart is super fun, right? And so how do we've still been able to see the ways that our professionals have been able to bring those joyful learning experiences to our youngest learners, and make sure that they are still having those, whether in all sorts of new strategies with new techniques, the collaboration amongst the adults is still allowing those children to have those really, really important experiences that are transformative. And so those two things, both for the ways that we are coming together and the ways we are continuing to transform children's lives for the future, is what makes me most hopeful.
Joy is such a theme throughout this. My brother said something the other day. He was speaking online and he said, sometimes you have to let old joy be new joy. And I think that's something that really resonated with me as I've watched my students, and as I watch them through video interactions with the children in their placement sites, is that they're bringing the same joy that they've always had for working with children into their classrooms, even though it looks different. So that word joy has been coming up for me lately. So I've got to reflect on that a bit. Before I let the students wrap up, I just want to bring in our bridge, Kim. So Kim is the bridge between academics and professional development, because we do play nice in the sandbox, the academic side and the professional development side. And that's been a really beautiful thing at HCC to have Strong Start right here with us. So I just want to give Kim a second to share her thoughts, and then the students are going to wrap us up.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me be the bookend of your 2 seasons. This is such an exciting opportunity. And, years ago, Liz and I were engaged in a conversation, and we were talking with our peers about what we thought our individual superpowers were. And mine is being the bridge. And I feel comfortable saying that because Liz is the one who said that Kim's superpower is putting people at a table together where they need to have a conversation. And so I just want to thank President Royal for HCC welcoming our grants team into the college community, and for the commissioner for continuing to fund these grants that are doing these amazing things for the community. And then really, ultimately, I want to thank Sheila and Liz for being willing to open their ideas about what each of their individual jobs were, to see that this type of bridge and collaboration is really where our field needs to go. We just need to have more conversations and support each other in ways that are real and creative and meaningful. And so I am really excited to see where this goes next season. And I'm looking for my invitations already.
Oh, you got it. You got it. So without further ado, Jessica Cardona, who we gave a shout out to earlier, is the first student to have completed the CDA program to then continue on and graduate from HCC with an associate's degree. So she's about to wrap up, and I'm going to miss her so much, but you're going to be one of my go-to alumni, so watch out. Jessica has some closing thoughts for us, and then Dawn has chosen a really special quote.
First, I want to say thank you for giving me a shout out. And second, and most importantly, we want to say thank you to both of you, President Royal and Commissioner Sam, for your time today, but especially for your dedication to our fields and our professional development. We have a quote about how every child deserves a champion, but we are also appreciative of you as champions for community college students and early childhood professionals.
Dawn, will you read that awesome quote that you found?
Yes. So I found a quote, and it's by Rita Pearson. Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists they become the best they possibly can be.
Totally perfect to wrap up this season.
Yeah,
Liz
it's
is
really
gonna.
beautiful.
That gave me chills.
Yeah.
Steps. It gave me chills. Yeah.
We all need champions, and there is something to be said about the power of connection. Connection and relationships is what's getting us through the pandemic, and it's going to be what helps us now and in the future as we have to process and sort of reorganize ourselves through every phase that we find ourselves in. So we like to close our episodes now with action steps, and we have two. The first is that because HCC is celebrating its 75th anniversary, they're collecting many stories of impact, and they're looking for people who are alumni, donors, friends, and more to consider thinking about your own history with HCC and how HCC has impacted your life. And we will put a link in the show notes for you to click on, where you can share your own HCC story. And we also would love to encourage people to go to the EEC Strategic Plan portal, and we'll put the link for that as well, to see all the opportunities that you can engage in town halls and things of that nature. So thank you, everyone, for this final episode. I've just been beaming from ear to ear. Thank you so much.
So that wraps up season 2 of the Itsy Bitsy Zoomcast. Liz and I are eternally grateful. And watch out, this summer, the Itsy Bitsy Zoomcast is hitting the road. We're going to be partnering with local food trucks to deliver surprise lunches to family childcare providers. So we're creating a Facebook page where people can nominate family childcare providers, and they'll get a surprise Itsy Bitsy lunch delivered, and we'll have Itsy Bitsy conversations on the road. So watch out. But thank you all for watching. I know, we're wild. Maybe we'll come to Boston sometime. Oh my goodness. Students, you did amazing. Thank you, everyone.